By February, Ash Creek's store shelves held salt, lamp oil, and nothing worth eating. Snow had blocked the freight road for weeks while flour disappeared from every barrel. Townspeople expected Evelyn Brooks and her 2 children to be starving first. She owned 1 milk cow, no hired hand, and barely 5 workable acres. Yet steam rose from vegetable stew when 2 worried neighbors opened her kitchen door. Fresh milk stood beside the stove, while yellow cheese rested beneath a clean cloth. Her children looked healthy, warm, and surprised anyone had expected something different. Beneath the frozen hill, Evelyn's root cellar still held months of carefully stored food. The town had called her plan impossible before the first seed entered spring soil. Now, hungry families wanted to know how 1 cow and 1 cellar had done it. The plan began during April of 1886 in Dakota Territory. Evelyn's husband, Thomas, had died after a logging accident near the northern ridge. He left a small house, 5 acres, and debts larger than the spring garden. Evelyn also inherited Daisy, a calm brown cow already several years old. Her son Sam was 12, while his younger sister Rose had recently turned 8. Together they faced winter with 1 income, 1 cow, and no reliable harvest. Edwin Marsh owned Ash Creek's general store and held Thomas's final supply note. He visited after the funeral, carrying figures arranged neatly inside a black book. Selling Daisy would clear part of the debt and purchase flour through autumn. Selling the land would clear everything and move the children into town. Edwin considered both choices practical, because practical choices protected creditors and widows. Evelyn looked through the window where Daisy grazed beside Thomas's unfinished fence. "A cow produces food every day," she said. "A paid debt produces nothing." Edwin reminded her that cows consumed hay long after gardens stopped producing. He asked what 3 people would eat when January buried the ground. Evelyn had no answer yet, which made his question harder to dismiss. That evening, she opened Thomas's seed box beneath their bed. Potatoes, carrots, turnips, onions, beans, cabbage, and beets filled small paper packets. Seeds could produce more food than money if summer granted enough time. The real problem was keeping that food alive after the ground froze. Evelyn remembered her grandmother's cellar built into a shaded Missouri riverbank. Root vegetables rested there through winter while snow covered every garden row. Cool earth slowed spoilage without freezing food or allowing summer heat inside. Evelyn walked their property until she found a north-facing slope behind the barn. Snow lingered there days longer than anywhere else around the house. She drove 4 stakes into the slope and handed Sam his father's shovel. Rose asked whether they were digging a room for potatoes or people. "For winter supper," Evelyn answered. "We are simply building it early." Digging took nearly 3 weeks because packed clay resisted every shovel blade. Sam loosened earth while Evelyn lifted buckets and Rose sorted usable stones. Daisy watched from the fence, chewing steadily as though supervising their work. Neighbors stopped along the road and asked why a widow needed an underground room. Evelyn explained the cellar, the garden, and her plan for winter milk. Most listeners saw 3 separate hopes where she saw one connected system. Daisy would provide milk, cream, butter, manure, and income from small dairy sales. The garden would provide roots, cabbage, beans, and fodder for Daisy. The cellar would protect both family food and selected feed through winter. Edwin heard the explanation and called it arithmetic built from perfect weather. "One dry month ruins the garden," he said. "One sick cow ruins everything else." The warning was fair, which made Evelyn work harder instead of arguing. She lined the cellar walls with fieldstone and left narrow gaps for drainage. Cedar poles supported the roof beneath layered boards, clay, and living sod. A thick outer door faced north beneath a short covered passage. Evelyn built an inner door, creating a buffer against sudden winter air. One low vent admitted cool air while another high vent released rising warmth. Wooden shutters allowed her to reduce airflow whenever temperatures threatened freezing. Sam built shelves from Thomas's leftover fence boards along the driest wall. Rose labeled bins with pictures because her written letters remained uncertain. Potatoes received a dark corner, while onions waited near the upper shelves. Apples would remain separate because Evelyn remembered them spoiling nearby vegetables faster. The finished cellar smelled of clay, cedar, and possibility beneath the shaded hill. Evelyn still needed enough food to fill every carefully prepared space. She divided the garden into narrow beds instead of one exposed field. Low stone borders slowed wind and held precious spring moisture around young plants. Daisy's winter manure became dark compost mixed carefully into the poorest soil. Sam planted potatoes deeply, while Rose pressed bean seeds beside simple wooden stakes. Evelyn planted early roots first, then saved space for later winter varieties. Every row carried a purpose beyond making the summer garden appear generous. Fast beans provided summer meals, while slower roots were investments in February. Fodder beets grew near the barn because Daisy's winter feed mattered equally. Evelyn milked before sunrise and sold 2 small cans at Edwin's store. He purchased the milk because customers cared less about pride than fresh cream. Part of each payment reduced Thomas's note, while the rest purchased salt and grain. The family drank what remained and turned extra cream into butter. Evelyn learned to press simple cheese that would last longer than fresh milk. Her first wheel cracked because she dried it too quickly beside the stove. The second developed mold after resting against a damp kitchen wall. Evelyn cut away the spoiled portion, but refused to store the rest for winter. Failure tasted expensive when every lost cup of milk represented future food. Martha Lane, who managed the boarding house kitchen, heard about Evelyn's ruined cheese. She visited with a clean cloth, a wooden hoop, and 30 years of experience. Martha showed Evelyn how steady pressure and clean turning produced an even wheel. The cheese needed cool air, dry shelving, and regular inspection instead of neglect. Evelyn placed later wheels inside the cellar's driest upper corner. She recorded each date, weight, and surface change inside Thomas's farm ledger. By June, 4 sound cheeses rested above bins still waiting for harvest. Summer heat arrived early, testing the garden before deep roots had developed. Leaves curled by noon, while shallow soil cracked between the stone borders. Evelyn carried wash water toward the garden instead of throwing it beside the house. Sam spread straw between rows to shade soil and slow evaporation. Rose removed beetles by hand before they stripped the young potato leaves. Daisy's drinking water remained protected because milk would fail before thirsty vegetables mattered. One afternoon, Edwin rode out expecting to find Evelyn's perfect arithmetic collapsing. He saw wilted leaves, exhausted children, and only 1 water barrel remaining. "Sell the cow before desperation lowers her price," he advised quietly. Evelyn pointed toward storm clouds forming above the western grasslands. Edwin said clouds were not rain and left before the first thunder. That night, the sky opened and delivered more rain than the garden needed. Water rushed around the barn, across the yard, and directly toward the cellar slope. Evelyn woke to Rose shouting that muddy water was entering beneath the outer door. The drainage gaps filled faster than the saturated ground could release water. Mud spread across the floor and reached the lowest empty potato bins. Cheese wheels remained dry above, but the cellar's winter promise stood underwater. Sam carried buckets while Evelyn cut a channel through rain beside the slope. Rose held the lantern beneath oilcloth and guided runoff away from the entrance. By dawn, the water stopped rising, though thick mud covered every lower stone. Evelyn sat on the steps and understood Edwin's warning differently. One storm had nearly ruined storage before a single winter root arrived. She did not defend the design because the flooded floor had already judged it. Martha examined the slope and found runoff had no protected path around the cellar. Together, they cut 2 diversion ditches above the roof and lined them with stone. Evelyn lowered the cellar floor near one corner and added a gravel drain. Shelves rose several inches higher, while wooden bins received stone feet beneath them. She scrubbed every surface, opened both vents, and waited until earth dried fully. The next heavy rain flowed around the cellar instead of entering it. Evelyn marked the repaired channels with white stones for inspection after every storm. Her plan had survived only because failure arrived before harvest, not after it. The garden recovered beneath July sunlight and produced new growth from damaged rows. Potato flowers opened above soil that had nearly washed toward the cellar. Winter food now depended on every lesson hidden inside summer mud. August brought full bean vines, thick cabbage heads, and potatoes beneath dark soil. Evelyn resisted harvesting early because mature roots would store longer through winter. The family ate beans, milk, and garden greens while waiting for heavier crops. Daisy continued producing steadily because Evelyn protected feed, water, and milking times. Sam cut hay from every usable corner beyond the vegetable beds. He stacked it beneath the barn roof where winter snow could not reach. Rose gathered fallen leaves for bedding that would keep Daisy dry and warmer. Evelyn planted another row of fodder beets after the storm softened empty ground. Those roots were not family supper. They were winter insurance for Daisy's milk. Edwin returned near month's end carrying Thomas's note and a smaller expression of certainty. Dairy sales had reduced the debt, but harvest costs still left a balance. He offered to cancel everything in exchange for Daisy before autumn prices fell. Evelyn asked whether his customers had stopped buying the cow's milk and butter. Edwin admitted sales remained strong, especially among families with young children. "Then Daisy is paying the debt while feeding us," Evelyn said. She offered 2 cheese wheels and future butter instead of the animal producing them. Edwin accepted because valuable food in hand outweighed ownership of one aging cow. The agreement gave Evelyn until spring without pretending the remaining debt disappeared. September nights cooled, signaling the harvest could finally begin. Sam lifted potatoes carefully so his fork would not pierce their skins. Rose twisted beet tops instead of cutting into the crowns beneath them. Evelyn left onions on dry boards until their outer skins tightened. Cabbages kept short stems, while carrots entered boxes filled with barely damp sand. Every bruised root went directly to the kitchen instead of entering winter storage. One damaged potato could spread rot through an entire tightly packed bin. Evelyn sorted food by condition rather than admiring the total harvest pile. Perfect roots entered long storage, while smaller ones became early winter meals. Damaged vegetables filled soup kettles, drying trays, and jars of preserved relish. Beans dried completely before sealed containers moved onto the cellar's upper shelves. Apples from Martha's orchard rested separately near the coolest inner corner. Rose drew another picture for every bin until the cellar resembled her school book. By October, stored vegetables filled nearly every shelf and floor compartment. 8 cheese wheels rested above them, each turned and inspected on schedule. Crocks of butter stood inside the coldest section beneath protective cloth covers. Evelyn counted meals instead of pounds because meals revealed what numbers truly meant. Potatoes could anchor supper, while milk and beans supplied strength vegetables could not. Cabbage, onions, carrots, and beets prevented every week from tasting identical. Cheese provided concentrated food whenever cold reduced Daisy's daily milk. The cellar looked abundant, but abundance could vanish through waste, freezing, or poor planning. Evelyn created a weekly meal board and adjusted it according to cellar inspections. No stored crop disappeared simply because one child preferred it over another. Sam complained about turnips until Evelyn showed how many February meals they represented. Rose traded her apple portion for his butter and considered the bargain excellent. The first hard frost arrived before Evelyn finished covering the cellar roof with straw. Morning air entered the low vent and lowered temperatures dangerously near the potato bins. Evelyn partially closed both shutters and hung a blanket inside the outer passage. The cellar cooled without freezing, proving ventilation required judgment instead of fixed rules. Martha inspected the shelves and found one damp patch beneath the apple corner. 3 apples had softened, and one already carried a dark, spreading spot. Evelyn removed the entire crate and examined every piece under lantern light. 7 apples became sauce that evening, while 2 went directly to Daisy. Dry straw replaced the damp lining before sound fruit returned to storage. The cellar preserved food only because someone noticed trouble before trouble spread. November snow covered the garden and ended every chance of correcting a poor harvest. Evelyn served potato cakes, stewed beans, cabbage, warm milk, and sharp cheese. The meal cost almost nothing from Edwin's store beyond salt and a little flour. Sam grew quiet after realizing their underground room had become winter's pantry. Rose asked whether people in town still believed the plan was impossible. "Some are waiting for January," Evelyn answered. "We should keep preparing for it." She moved Daisy into the repaired stall before the first severe northern wind. Thick bedding protected the cow, while stored hay remained dry above her. Fodder beets and measured grain supported milk without exhausting Daisy's condition. Evelyn reduced household milk whenever the cow needed more food for herself. Survival depended on keeping the source healthy, not taking everything she could produce. Would you have kept Daisy instead of selling her to clear the family debt? Share your choice below and subscribe before Ash Creek's hardest winter begins. December opened with deep cold that froze water inside several town kitchens. Freight wagons still arrived weekly, keeping Edwin's shelves full enough for ordinary demand. People purchased flour, bacon, dried fruit, and coffee without changing summer habits. Evelyn purchased only salt, a small flour sack, and grain reserved for Daisy. Edwin noticed her short list and asked whether pride had reduced their appetites. Evelyn invited him to inspect the cellar whenever business allowed. He declined because the store ledger seemed more reliable than underground vegetables. Christmas passed with roasted roots, bean pie, fresh butter, and applesauce. Martha joined them and brought cinnamon that made the cellar apples taste extravagant. Their table lacked meat, yet nobody rose hungry or weak from supper. Evelyn marked the holiday meal and remaining stores inside Thomas's ledger. More than half the potatoes remained, along with most beans and several cabbages. Daisy continued giving less milk than summer, but enough for 3 careful people. January arrived with wind strong enough to erase roads within minutes. Snow covered both cellar vents during the first night of the storm. Without airflow, damp warmth began collecting against the stone ceiling. Evelyn discovered droplets falling across the onion shelf during her morning inspection. The outer door had drifted shut beneath snow packed harder than flour. Sam tied a rope around Evelyn before she climbed onto the hidden slope. Wind erased her footprints while she searched for vent caps beneath the drift. She found the high vent by striking snow with Thomas's fence rod. Cold air rushed through after she removed the heavy plug above it. The low vent remained buried, forcing Evelyn to dig closer to the outer passage. Her boot broke through a hollow drift and trapped her leg against stone. Sam felt the rope tighten and pulled while Rose braced him inside the barn. Evelyn freed her boot, cleared the second vent, and followed the rope home. Inside the cellar, condensation slowed before water reached the stored roots below. Sam built tall marker poles above both vents after the storm weakened. Rose tied red cloth to each pole so future snow could not hide them. The family saved its winter food by correcting another weakness before rot began. 2 days later, Daisy stopped finishing hay and stood apart from her manger. Her milk dropped sharply, removing the food Evelyn's arithmetic depended upon daily. Evelyn checked the cow's feet, breathing, temperature, water, and bedding carefully. A hidden roof leak had soaked one corner and chilled Daisy through the night. Sam patched the roof while Evelyn replaced every wet layer beneath the cow. Warm mash, dry bedding, and shelter gradually returned Daisy's appetite. Her milk recovered slowly, never reaching the amount produced before the storm. Evelyn adjusted meals and opened one additional cheese wheel from the upper shelf. The system bent because every part supported another when one weakened. Root crops replaced missing milk, while stored cheese replaced fresh dairy temporarily. Daisy's saved fodder protected future milk after the damaged hay was discarded. Edwin heard about the cow's illness and expected Evelyn's plan to collapse. He sent a wagon offering to purchase Daisy before her condition worsened. Evelyn returned the wagon with 2 butter crocks as payment toward the note. The driver reported children eating stew while Daisy chewed fresh hay behind them. Edwin crossed out another line without admitting relief had replaced expectation. Late January brought another blizzard and colder weather behind it. Freight wagons stopped at the river crossing where drifting snow covered the bridge. Edwin rationed flour, beans, and bacon after counting supplies inside his storeroom. Families who purchased weekly discovered winter could interrupt money as easily as harvests. Ash Creek's shelves emptied faster than crews could reopen the freight road. Evelyn's cellar remained full enough because winter had been entering it since September. The town's problem was becoming larger than one family's successful plan. Before February began, hungry neighbors started walking toward the north-facing hill. Frank Miller and his wife June reached Evelyn's house before dawn. They carried concern for her children and one nearly empty flour sack. Frank expected weak faces because Evelyn had purchased almost nothing since Christmas. Instead, he smelled onions and warm milk before Evelyn opened the kitchen door. Potato stew simmered beside cabbage while cheese waited on the table. Sam repaired a harness near the stove, and Rose finished her morning milk. June looked at their plates and asked where everything had come from. Evelyn led them through the snow toward the red vent markers. Beneath the hill, lantern light revealed bins, shelves, cheese, and winter roots. Frank removed his hat because mockery felt disrespectful inside that carefully protected room. "We came expecting to help you," June admitted. "We may need help ourselves." Their children had eaten the final beans while flour dwindled toward one meal. Evelyn opened Thomas's ledger before offering anything from the cellar. Generosity without counting could turn one hungry family into 3 hungry families. She calculated stored meals, seed potatoes, Daisy's fodder, and uncertain freight delays. Enough surplus existed for the Millers if every household accepted simpler portions. Evelyn filled their sack with potatoes, turnips, onions, beans, and 1 cheese piece. Frank offered money, but she asked for labor repairing the cellar passage after thaw. The exchange preserved dignity while turning spring work into winter food. News of the cellar reached town before Frank's family finished its first stew. By afternoon, 3 more families stood outside Evelyn's gate with empty sacks. She could not feed Ash Creek through winter without consuming her family's spring. Refusing everyone would protect her cellar, while leaving neighbors to face hunger alone. Evelyn asked each visitor what food remained hidden inside their own homes. One family had cornmeal, another had dried peas, and another kept smoked fish. Ash Creek lacked complete meals, but scattered cupboards still held useful pieces. Evelyn proposed combining those pieces instead of emptying one cellar immediately. Martha opened the boarding house kitchen and measured every contribution into a common ledger. Evelyn supplied root vegetables, cabbage, limited dairy, and knowledge about storage. Edwin released salt, flour, and dried goods from reserves protected for paying customers. He resisted until hungry children gathered outside his nearly empty store. Payment could wait, but food spoiled by hoarding would help nobody after winter. A shared kitchen began producing thick soup twice daily inside Martha's largest kettles. Potatoes stretched cornmeal, milk enriched broth, and cabbage added something fresh. Evelyn opened the cellar only morning and evening to protect food from freezing air. Sam moved selected bins into the outer passage before waiting wagons arrived. Rose checked every removed vegetable and returned damaged pieces directly to the kitchen. Nothing entered town without a planned meal or future purpose. The system worked until Evelyn discovered potatoes warming inside the rear bin. Repeated cellar visits had disturbed airflow and raised moisture around the crowded corner. Several potatoes felt soft, while one released a sour smell beneath its neighbors. Hidden rot could destroy the largest remaining food supply before the freight road reopened. Evelyn emptied the bin piece by piece under lantern light. Sam carried sound potatoes forward, while Rose separated every questionable one. The rotten center had spread through nearly 1/4 of the bin. Evelyn had packed those potatoes too tightly after sharing emptied nearby shelves. Air could no longer move between them, allowing damp warmth to remain trapped. They discarded ruined roots and spread the remaining potatoes across 3 shallow bins. Martha brought slatted crates from the boarding house to improve movement around each layer. Edwin supplied boards because losing potatoes would empty his common kitchen too. The repair saved most of the crop, but reduced every future portion again. Evelyn adjusted the meal ledger before grief could pretend spoiled food still existed. The following morning, children received smaller potato cakes and more bean broth. Nobody enjoyed the change, but nobody left the shared kitchen hungry. Edwin visited Evelyn's house carrying Thomas's debt note inside his coat. He had finally inspected the cellar, meal ledger, cow feed, and remaining stores. The impossible plan looked different when measured beneath lantern light. "You could sell the remaining food and clear everything," Edwin suggested. Evelyn asked what Ash Creek's children would eat after she collected the money. Edwin folded the note because numbers had led him toward an answer he disliked. He extended payment until harvest and added no further interest through winter. It was not charity. Protecting Evelyn's system now protected his entire town. February cold deepened while freight crews still struggled beyond the buried river bridge. Daisy's hay pile shrank toward the final dry section beneath the barn roof. Evelyn reduced grain slightly and increased fodder beets from the protected cellar corner. Daisy kept chewing, drinking, and producing enough milk for carefully measured use. Her survival remained essential because the last cheese wheels were already disappearing. One night, blowing snow collapsed part of the barn's weakened western roof. A heavy beam fell across Daisy's stall and pinned the gate shut. The cow remained unhurt, but snow entered through the broken roof above her. Sam crawled beneath the beam while Evelyn held its weight using a fence post. Rose led Daisy through the narrow feed passage before the support shifted again. They moved her into the woodshed, where walls blocked wind but space remained tight. Frank arrived with tools after seeing the damaged roof from the road. Edwin sent workers from town because Daisy's milk now served children beyond Evelyn's family. Men repaired the roof in freezing wind while women carried dry bedding inside. The cow returned to her stall before another night could reduce her strength. Ash Creek protected the single animal everyone once advised Evelyn to sell. 3 days later, freight bells sounded beyond the reopened river crossing. Wagons entered town carrying flour, dried meat, grain, and long-delayed mail. People crowded Edwin's store, then stopped when he opened the common meal ledger. Every contributing household received credit before new supplies were sold ordinarily. Evelyn accepted flour and cow grain equal to the food her cellar had supplied. She refused extra payment because generosity should not become profit after danger passes. Winter weakened slowly, revealing fences, roads, and buried garden markers beneath snow. On the first March morning, Evelyn opened the cellar for a complete inventory. Potatoes remained for seed, carrots remained for meals, and 3 cabbages still hung. 2 cheese pieces, dried beans, and several onions waited on upper shelves. Daisy stood outside chewing hay while milk cooled beside the kitchen door. Evelyn had fed her family through winter without selling the cow or land. She had also preserved enough seed and strength to begin again. Edwin returned Thomas's note after spring butter and early vegetables cleared the balance. He asked Evelyn to explain her winter arithmetic during the next town meeting. She brought no speech, only Thomas's ledger and several remaining routes. Each page connected garden rows, cow feed, dairy production, storage loss, and meals. One cow had not produced endless food, and one cellar had created nothing. Summer labor grew the food, while careful storage carried that labor through winter. Daisy connected both seasons by producing dairy and enriching soil for the garden. Planning made ordinary resources dependable when roads, stores, and weather failed. The following summer, north-facing cellar doors appeared behind houses across Ash Creek. Frank added drainage before shelves, remembering the mud Evelyn had nearly lost everything to. Martha taught families cheese storage, while Sam demonstrated raised bins and vent markers. Rose painted vegetables on labels for neighbors who admired her original cellar pictures. Edwin stocked seeds beside flour because customers now purchased winter food during spring. Daisy aged, and her milk eventually slowed beyond what careful feeding could restore. Evelyn kept her anyway because worth had never been limited to one season's output. A younger cow later joined the barn, purchased with butter and vegetable earnings. Townspeople sometimes called Evelyn lucky when her shelves remained full through winter. She answered by showing drainage ditches, sorting tables, meal records, and repaired roof boards. Luck had not removed rotten potatoes, cleared vents, or carried Daisy through storms. The impossible winter had demanded attention every day from planting until thaw. Years later, Thomas's ledger remained beside the cellar lantern for every autumn inventory. Its first pages recorded debt, while later pages recorded food shared during the blizzard. Evelyn never forgot the question Edwin asked before the first garden was planted. What would 3 people eat when January buried the ground beneath snow? The answer waited in dark bins: warm milk, summer labor, and corrected mistakes. 1 cow and 1 cellar had been enough because nothing useful was wasted. The town called it impossible until Evelyn's family reached spring stronger than before. Would you have trusted Evelyn's winter plan? Rate her decision from 0 to 10. Share where you are watching from and subscribe to Wild West Lifestyle for more frontier stories.